So this can be different. Here we go. Recording. Okay. Well,
Earl,
and
have you been to the national conferences, the ISDC conferences?
some of them, yes. Haven't gone in the last 3 years, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they're pretty interesting. There's just so much stuff going on, and they overlap. That's the problem.
Yes.
Yeah. And also,
Yeah, I was there last year. They invited me to bring our exhibit and let everybody experience walking on the moon in virtual reality. It was a big hit.
Oh, okay. I may have heard about that. I did kind of remember vaguely something like that. Yeah. But no, we hadn't gone for a couple of years. Me and the girlfriend that I had for about 30 years had gone to these different things off and on, and also to the Mars Society events. So we've done that too, and a few other things, that's been space related, and some other NASA events. Although there's few and far between for them.
I was in Washington a little bit over a month ago.
Oh.
And I met Dr. Zubrin. I've known him for a few years.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But he signed this book for me.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've got several things, from him. Yeah, we helped him at one of the Lehigh Valley astronomy events. He was the invited speaker, so we were Mars Society then. Also joined him then. Hello, Ed.
Hi.
And background and everything. So introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Ed Dabrowski, friend of Nick's, and interested in lots of technology and space. I have some things from the Mercury and Apollo documents that they would give out from. That's how long ago it was that I've been interested in it. I remember fourth or fifth grade watching the Mercury guys lift off on a black and white television. So.
Oh yeah.
I got my start with Apollo 11.
How old were you when Apollo 11 landed, Ed?
11.
It was 68. Was that you mean? I was
69.
69. So I was 18. I was 18.
Oh, you were 18 already.
Yeah, I was 20 when that happened.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have landing day celebrations, and there's Dorothy. Dorothy's up.
Hello.
Hi, Dorothy.
Hi.
Little tiny picture there.
But, yeah, I noticed that. Unless I didn't get a regular picture in.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, we were just talking about when we saw some things and what we.
Hey, Lar. Yeah. I'm not in there.
All right. Yourself?
No.
Okay.
Dottie and Larry are a husband and wife team.
Yeah, but they're going in now. There you go. There you are.
Hey, Colin.
Yes.
Collinsworth. Okay.
Here. Don't do anything. Just wait.
I'm not in there.
Hey, what's that say there?
I don't know.
The marvels of modern technology.
Yeah.
Technology.
What is that? What's this thing?
Yeah. I actually have something that my late president of the chapter had gathered, and I didn't realize it until I was looking through some other papers. And there's a little ring binder, and on the cover was a picture of the Mercury capsule. I open it up.
I ain't doing it.
Mercury 7 astronauts signal.
What happened?
I don't like this.
Something's going on.
Something's going on. Something's going wrong.
Okay, well, Colin's here. Dennis Pearson is pulled in. That's good.
Welcome, Dennis.
Hi, Dennis.
No, it's just that.
We may have, if everything works out, maybe another 4 or 5 people pop in.
Oh.
You did already turned on.
Dorothy, your avatar is back on.
I invited in the guy who used to be our
is that camera on?
Yep, it's on.
He was part of the Saturn V
There you go. Yep.
working group.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay, hi.
There you go, hey, Dorothy. To gather and preserve the documentation of the Saturn V main engines construction and fabrication, all of the stuff that involved Saturn V and its performance. was what Frank O'Brien's group did. One of the things he did, speaking of having material, he picked up and put together materials from an Apollo flight computer and had the main component on loan, permanent loan, basically, to be used in public outreach activities, which we did through the Franklin Institute and several of the events on the Parkway. If you're from the area, you may remember the Super Science Weekends on the Parkway in Philadelphia, with all of the museums and things up along and down the Parkway being involved. We also earlier on had Super Science Sundays and weekends at the New Jersey State Museum, Mel, and they had events for a number of years that we had been invited to. The highlights of some of them were the ones where we had the landing of the Mars rovers. And we happened to be there when one of them, I think it was the Opportunity, actually started rolling and sending back images at the time. So we've been involved in that kind of stuff as members of different organizations for a number of years at this point. It actually started in 1976 from something that was not exactly National Space Society. There was a Space Future Foundation or something in Pennsylvania, and for the bicentennial, which we all know and remember, right? Almost all of us old enough to remember that one. George Faulkner. Okay.
Good evening, George. Welcome.
Mhm.
And yeah, and we did the meetings like in Fairmount Park and everything, just to go around and see what all the different exhibits for the 200th anniversary were. A lot different from what we just had for the 250th. Yeah, too much rain, too much heat, whatever. Let's see.
All right. Well,
it is now just a little after 7. So,
right.
What do we want to do?
I just wanted to make a couple of brief words and then hand it over to Manny. Manny has told me that while his slide presentation goes on, he's more than willing to answer questions as he goes along. I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'm really excited to start this group. I am not the chair of the chapter or anything. I just took the initiative to start this tonight. I've been a fan of science and science fiction, for that matter, for most of my life. And I just enjoy talking about this stuff all the time. And I want to thank you all for taking a Thursday night and coming out and doing this. And I just want to introduce Manny. Manny Pimenta is a friend of mine and someone I met through the Moon Society. And we both became good friends. He has come to my church and has done a in-person demonstration of the virtual reality product that he has called Virtual Moon, which he'll get into. And I asked Manny to speak tonight because I really sincerely feel that virtual reality has a very important place in our space traveling future. We're not always going to be there to help someone if they're on a moon base or on Mars, but basically the next best thing is to be able to slap on a helmet and help solve a problem while quote unquote being in the room. And so with that, Manny, if you'd like to take over and introduce yourself, and we can go with the program.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for your interest. It's a pleasure for me to talk to you and to tell you about our project, our Virtual Moon project. It's a lifelong quest.
I'd like to interrupt for a second, Manny. I think in a little while, maybe after your presentation, we'll have a more general introduction for the other people who have also arrived.
Right.
That'll work. Okay. Yes,
Wonderful.
Okay, Manny. Thank you.
So I was saying it's been a lifelong quest for me to try to experience what it's like to be on the moon. And when I started this venture many years ago, we were sort of in the doldrums. Now space is exciting again, right? A lot of things are happening. SpaceX is breaking all the records with the size and performance of their Starship and so on. So very exciting times now. But back 25 years ago, we were in the doldrums, and I basically had given up on any chance that I would ever have to go to the moon myself. By the way, I no longer believe that. I think Starship is a game changer, and I think I have a chance, if not go to the moon, at least to go to space and go to orbit. I think all of us have that chance, because that'll happen in the next 10 years, maybe.
Well, this last week, Elon has launched another batch of his Starlink satellites on a rocket that has now been turned around and refurbished and launched 39 times, driving the cost curve down. So you may get your chance.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, what he's doing is just unprecedented. But anyway, since I gave up on the possibility of going there physically, I still wanted to experience what it's like to be on the moon. And I've also been a big fan of virtual reality for many years, going back into the 80s. When I first discovered virtual reality, I really dove in and took a big interest in it. And I really think, after having experienced it, I really think it's a new mode of communicating ideas and vision, and communicating even on professional levels, like engineering levels and so on. And so I think it's a very powerful technology. And so I thought the best way to experience the moon without going there is to create a virtual reality simulation of it. And that's what virtual moon is. I'll get into the slides and go through it. As I said, feel free to interrupt anytime if you have questions.
I have a question. Yes. Is it aimed to become a commercial product, or is it a commercial product now?
Not yet, but we're very close, and I'll explain that. Out of curiosity, have any of you on this call tried virtual reality yet?
Yes. They had an exhibit at the Franklin Institute maybe 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Where they had platforms and virtual reality goggles of kind of a clumsy affair to give you a simulation for like 5 minutes. And something. Yeah. But that was very rare to have anything like that for the public.
But 15 years ago, there's been a lot of development. Have any of you tried virtual reality in the new headsets?
A little bit, yeah. But it's like going into a jungle or going down a street or something like that. Usually, nothing exotic. Not that I saw.
Ed, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I did also. Nick had the headsets at our church, and we all got to play around with them.
Okay. All right. So it's the marriage of two of my passions: the moon and virtual reality. That's the genesis. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and we'll get right into it. Let's see. Here we go. Share. And okay, are we there?
Yep, see it.
I see your screen.
Okay, great. So imagine that we have some of the Star Trek technology today. For example, computers that you can talk to and talk back to you, right? We have that already. Replicator is another very cool technology. We don't have that yet, but maybe soon. But the transporter is probably the coolest piece of Star Trek technology. And so if we had a transporter, we could teleport ourselves to any place on Earth or in space that we wanted. But the teleporter had a limitation. Its range was only about 40,000 kilometers. So to go to the moon, we need to extend that range about 10 times to 400,000 kilometers.
Yep.
And so that's one way you can think of virtual moon is we are a transporter, a Star Trek transporter. You put on the headset and you push a button and we'll teleport you to the moon. Now, you're not there physically, but everything that you experience visually, it's as if you were there. So in order to create that illusion, in order to create as realistic a simulation as possible, we have set out to create the most accurate, realistic, and detailed and complete virtual reality simulation of the moon ever created. Essentially a digital twin where the simulation is accurate and exact in every aspect of the simulation, and it'll behave exactly as the real moon does.
Yeah.
To do that, we're using state-of-the-art multi-user virtual reality technology. Multi-user means that you can call your friend who lives on the West Coast, and you decide that you want to meet on the moon at Copernicus crater, maybe, or at the future city on the moon called Selene. You just decide you want to meet someplace, and you both teleport to the moon at that time and place that you agreed, and together, interacting with each other via avatars and interacting with the environment. Like you could get into a rover and start driving it on the surface of the moon. And you and your buddy together can go exploring sections of the moon nobody's ever been to before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's multi-user VR technology. In order to create the best simulation possible, we use the latest data sets from NASA and the Chinese missions, the Indian missions, whatever data sets we have access to that we can incorporate into the model. We're creating the architecture of virtual moon so that we can always import better data and improve the model on a continuous basis. As I said, the moon or virtual moon is also going to be a fun and exciting place to explore and hang out with your friends. And as a Star Trek transporter is a space-time portal to the moon. Because the other limitation the space track transporter had is that it could only transport you across space. But virtual moon, the portal, is a space-time portal that can transport you across space and through time to the future and to the past or the present. So that's what virtual moon is going to be when it's completed. Now, just a little bit of background on how I got involved in this. I'm not really a space guy. I did apply for a job at NASA. I didn't get many years ago. So I've been working in the utility industry, the electric utility, as an engineer most of my professional life. But back in the year 2000, I got involved with an organization called the Space Frontier Foundation. That was the first organization that I joined. And I went to their second annual conference, which was at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. And it was amazing. I met Buzz Aldrin. That very first conference I went to, I met Buzz Aldrin, who was a childhood hero, going back to when I first watched the Apollo 11 landings on the moon when I was 10 years old. And then I went back the following year, and the following year, I was, I think, a little overcritical and too vocal, and I spoke to the conference organizers. There were some things I didn't like. So the one of the founders of the Space Frontier Foundation said, all right, those are legitimate criticisms. Tell you what, why don't you run the next Return to the Moon conference? And I'm not too smart when it comes to these things. My reflex is to say yes. Even though I had no idea how to run a conference, I said yes. And I actually ended up running 2 Return to the Moon conferences, one in 2004 and one in 2006.
Oh, wow.
And those were amazing. We also had the moonwalking astronauts that came to my conferences. One was Captain John Young. We also had Harrison Schmidt and Zollman also. So it was amazing. It was just an unbelievable experience. By the way, I joined the Space Frontier Foundation with the intent of making some kind of contribution to the space cause. But I didn't really see the possibilities. I didn't care what kind of assignment I got. It could have been just, mailing out envelopes, any kind of a menial task, just anything they wanted to give me to do, I was willing to do. But out of that intention, new opportunities arose. So I was invited by one of the people who attended the conference. His name is Steve Durst. He's a big space buff also, and he invited me to come to Hawaii to be a founding board member of the International Lunar Observatory Association.
Whoa.
And the ILOA, actually, we landed a payload on the moon last year with Intuitive Machines mission. It was a space telescope that was going to image the center of the Milky Way galaxy and beam live images of the Milky Way to Earth. Unfortunately, that mission tipped over as it landed, so we didn't get the shots that.
Remember the news.
But it was amazing that one of the missions that I did some work on actually made it to the moon. So that was
that actually a private? Manny, was that actually a private mission? I keep thinking it was.
Yes.
Oh,
yes, it was a private mission. This International Lunar Observatory Association was created for the purpose of doing this kind of mission.
Yeah.
Cool. And so the next thing that happened is I saw an opportunity to build a simulation of the moon back in 2004. I created a company called Lunar Explorer, and we actually succeeded in creating the world's first fully immersive virtual reality simulation of the moon, which we showed at various conferences. We were invited by the director of the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California to come and present to the director of the JPL and his management team, which we did. And they were very impressed with what we did. This was 20 years ago. This was before virtual reality technology was available to the public. So not a great business model back then. So I eventually had to dissolve Lunar Explorer because we didn't succeed as a business. But then as the new hardware for virtual reality started coming out about 10 years ago, I created a new company called Virtual Moon. And Virtual Moon's intention is to replicate what we did with Lunar Explorer, but now for actual virtual reality equipment.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my background. The other claim to fame is that I actually performed 3 successful space shuttle landings. And even though that's might seem a little out of left field, that's me in the space shuttle.
Okay.
The pilot training cockpit at NASA Ames.
Okay.
This is a really impressive machine. It's a simulator that's 12 stories high in a building dedicated just for the vertical motion simulation. I got to do 3 landings with the space shuttle, 1 in Florida, Kennedy Space Center, and 2 at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. And we all walked away from the landings, by the way. So
Yeah, for the simulated landing. Good.
yeah,
Okay.
it's so impressive how realistic that experience is. You really feel when you move the joystick, it really feels like you're controlling a giant machine behind you. It's amazing.
Wow.
I don't do virtual reality. I don't know how to how to create 3D objects or how to create scenes and so on. So I needed a partner, and I looked, and there were a couple of false starts with Virtual Moon, where I started with a team and didn't really work out. But eventually I met Philip Van Nederveld. Philip is a pioneer in virtual reality technology. He runs the world's oldest virtual reality studio, and he's been doing virtual reality for over 35 years now. And he's also a really avid space buff and a moon buff as well. In his teenage years, he did space journalism, and he created like a database of space information in his native country of Belgium. And he has a company called eSpaces, which is his virtual reality studio. And we connected via LinkedIn. I basically introduced myself by telling him that I built a virtual reality simulation of the moon 20 years ago. That impressed him, and we had a call and decided that we would work together on Virtual Moon. And for me, this, yes, is there a question, comment? All right, I'll continue. So this is the moment where it started for me. As I said, I was 10 years old, and I saw the live broadcast from the moon as it was being transmitted. I stayed up late with my dad and my uncle because we were living in Europe at the time. So by the time we saw the astronauts come out, I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning or something like that. But we stayed and we watched the whole mission. And to me, you know, my mind was blown. And that's when I thought that how amazing it would be if I could go to the moon one day myself.
Yeah.
Now, why we're doing this, besides the personal quest, my own personal quest, I think it's really important that we become a spacefaring civilization to assure our long-term survival and prosperity. Elon Musk is doing his bit on that, but he can't do it alone. So I thought, you know, Virtual Moon would be a great way to recruit millions of talented and dedicated people and inspire them and get them focused on creating this future as a spacefaring civilization. So we're specifically targeting the younger people, but Virtual Moon is for everyone. For the nostalgic generation that was alive back then, and for the in-between generation that didn't get to see it live, but you know, knows about it and heard about it, and for the very young generation who are going to be the people that are actually going to create that bold future for us. And one aspect that I think is very important is to allow these young people to experience being in the future. And like I said, because of the ability of virtual reality to be a time travel machine as well as a space travel machine, we can actually transport people to the future. And that's a big feature of Virtual Moon that I'll be talking about. So they can see what it'll be like when we actually get there and when we actually are a spacefaring civilization. Now, once we blow their minds and get them inspired and fired up, it's important to give them opportunities to participate and contribute meaningfully to the mission. And so Virtual Moon is going to provide those opportunities as well. And our aim is that everyone on Earth should have the opportunity to experience being on the moon virtually. So when Virtual Moon is done and completed, we're going to share it with the entire world for free. We want everyone to experience it.
How far along? Okay, I'm sorry, you got the next step.
Yeah, I'll explain where we are and so on, but anything that I leave out, there'll also be, you know, questions and answers at the end. So because of my involvement in the space community going back 25 years, I created an extensive network in the space community. And when I approached some of these people with my idea, many of them were very enthusiastic and generous and decided they wanted to help us. So one of them is Dr. Jeff Hoffman, a retired NASA astronaut. He's currently an MIT professor. and he was one of the team of astronauts that went to repair the Hubble Space Telescope.
Mhm.
Eric Rosenthal was a former NYU professor. He does a lot of contract work for NASA. And in his prior career, he was a VP of Disney Imagineering. Greg Marinek was a executive director of the Ansari X Prize.
Mhm.
Andrew Chaikin wrote a book, A Man on the Moon, after he interviewed all of the Apollo astronauts and got all their personal experiences and the perspectives on the program, about their involvement in the program. He wrote a book called The Man on the Moon, and it's like a canon of the history of lunar exploration,
Their
and
memoirs.
it's a book that they based the HBO series on, From the Earth to the Moon. The other big get for us was Dan Curry. Now, I talked a lot about Star Trek, and one of the reasons that we talk about Star Trek is because the guy who was in charge of all the special visual effects for Star Trek is on the Virtual Moon team, is part of our board of advisors. His name is Dan Curry. And one of our latest acquisitions is Dr. Jim Logan. He was chief medical operations, retired. He worked at NASA for over 22 years, and he now runs the Space Enterprise Institute. At the end, we ask, what about you? If you'd like to get involved with Virtual Moon, we have an open door. We take volunteers to help us. There are many, many jobs to get done. So if you're interested in helping out, please reach out. We'll be happy to talk to you.
Okay. And we have a contact through
Yes.
Nick then to
Yes.
get to you. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the last slide will have contact information as well. So going back a little to Lunar Explorer. Now, Lunar Explorer was the best that we could do at the time. But my goal is to make it as realistic and accurate and complete a simulation as possible. That's always been my goal from the start. So Virtual Moon, Lunar Explorer recreated the entire surface of the moon based on NASA data. And it ran on standard Windows computers. So if you just had a regular PC at home, you could run Lunar Explorer. And it included dioramas of all of the satellites, not just the Apollo, but also the unmanned surveyor missions and all of the Soviet Luna missions, the robotic missions that the Soviets sent, the sample return missions. So you can visit all of these sites and walk among the instruments and the equipment at each of these sites. We replicated everything. And it still runs on Windows 11. If you're interested, you can reach out to me and I can share a link where you can download a copy to your Windows 11 machine and run Lunar Explorer. It's free.
For doing publicity and things, have you done any outreach to the Franklin Institute and to Derek Pitts? He's the chief astronomer there. I believe he's still the chief astronomer.
No, we've done a lot of outreach to many organizations and many different communities, but not to. Is it the Franklin Institute? You said
The Franklin Institute, in Center City, Philadelphia. I'm thinking that when they have special demonstrations of things, they have a space command. Something like what you're doing sounds like it could be piped in as part of those activities.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would love to get in touch with them.
Okay.
So what you're seeing now are screenshots of the original Lunar Explorer, again, which was done over 20 years ago. But here's one of the Apollo sites, one of the later Apollo sites, where they deployed a lot of instrumentation on the ground. On the upper left corner is a sample return Soviet mission where they scooped up some lunar soil and they deposited into that sphere, and that upper part of the machine was a rocket ship that brought the samples back to Earth. And that's on the upper right corner is a also from Lunar Explorer, a screenshot of what you can see while you're in orbit. And on the lower right corner is a screenshot from 100 kilometers above the surface.
Going down, yeah. Huh, nice.
So this is the equipment that we used 20 years ago. This headset was a piece of military grade equipment. It cost $30,000, and it was nowhere near the performance level of what you can buy now for $300 from a Quest 3 machine. By the way, I don't know if anybody recognizes this profile. Does anybody recognize the gentleman on the upper left corner?
Not really. No.
So that's the holographic doctor from Star Trek Voyager.
Oh, what's his name? I know somebody who's his relative. Pileggi.
Picardo. No, Picardo. Robert Picardo.
Oh, Robert Picardo.
Oh, yeah, the virtual doctor on the
Yeah.
one.
Oh, yeah. Picardo, though. I mean, the guy I know is Pileggi. He's one of the his relative. Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, Star Trek, I forgot what it was.
Deep Space Voyager.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a virtual doctor.
Yeah.
Star Trek Voyager. On this slide here, that's me in the background over 20 years ago. And does anybody recognize this gentleman walking on the moon? So
Kind of looks
this
familiar.
is Burt Rutan.
Oh, no wonder. Yeah, I've seen him
They don't
Cyber.
look like with those things on.
when when he was talking at the
this-
Stanford Institute. Actually, met
This
him.
was about 3 weeks after he won the $10 million Ansari X prize.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this gentleman in the white shirt here is my dad. I took him to a conference in LA, and he got to meet all the people that I hung out with.
Ah, showing how you were doing. Yeah.
So at the same conference in LA, we unveiled a game that we developed for Lunar Explorer, which was Lunar Rover Racing Game. And that's one of the rovers that you see that. We had many different models. We're going to release this as an actual product. And we got 90% through development, and then the funds ran out, and we were not able to raise more funds to complete it. So it died.
Well, things change over time. Now you might get a lot more as long as the graphics keep up. That's the thing, the graphics.
Exactly.
Manny, thinking outside the box, have you ever thought about trying to apply for a show like Shark Tank?
Ah, there you go.
Yeah. I actually thought of it, but we didn't meet their criteria at the time I applied. They wanted a business that had some sales already and a bunch of details like that. I applied, and we were not accepted.
Well, that's their loss.
I think so. So we created a bunch of demos. So Virtual Moon, we're just at the beginning stages. We're still working on raising funds. So we developed a number of demos that we've taken around to different space conferences and showed at schools and local events and so on. But the one that really grabs people that we've had the most success with is the Apollo 11 landing experience. So we recreated the terrain of the Apollo 11 landing site exactly. Like we looked at the pictures, and we manually deformed the terrain to create the craters and the bumps and the rocks and everything that's at that landing site in great detail. And then we created a model of the Eagle, a 3D model, and then we animated it. And now you can stand on the moon. You put the VR headset on, you're standing on the moon. If you look all around you, you're standing on the moon. And if you look up, straight up vertically, you'll see the Earth hanging in the sky. And then you arrive at the moon 4 minutes before the landing actually touchdown, before touchdown,
Mhm.
and you watch the eagle come from way far away and very high in the sky and get closer and closer and land right in front of you. We used NASA telemetry data from the mission, so we replicated the exact approach path. And we also synchronized it with the voice recordings of the communications back and forth from Houston Control Center. So you get, the sound and the sights of what happened. So you're basically have teleported back in time to 1969, and you are standing on the moon and watching the history from this very special vantage point.
Yeah.
If I may, the scale is extraordinary. You're standing next to the Apollo lunar module, and you look up with the helmet, and it's just incredibly tall. And the instant that the program turns on, it is incredible. You see stars, and you see the sun basically white, and the Apollo 11 comes right from the left-hand side and comes slowly down for a landing. Really cool stuff.
And the stars that you see are the actual star field. Like, you can identify familiar constellations, and all the visual elements are there exactly as they were at that moment in time. So as I said, we take these experiences around to conferences and so on.
Yeah.
This one on the right, this is Dan Suarez. Dan Suarez is a science fiction writer, a best-selling author, New York Times best-selling science fiction writer, and he tried virtual moon, the Apollo 11 landing experience, and he was blown away. I think I can show you a video of how he reacted a little later on. And this is another girl. This was at Kennedy Space Center at a small set conference that they have there every year. And we have a video of her as well. We'll show you that.
Oh, there we go. Now, this is your gear that she's wearing, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Does it have to be anything special as far as being a display system and everything? Can they go on Wi-Fi and watch it that way?
Yes.
Okay. I'm thinking of the number of headsets now that are out there. They're just, you slide your phone in,
I have one of those as well.
Have you spotted the Earth yet?
Yes, it's there.
Here we go.
Here's the sky, and like you can
What's
see
he wearing?
the stars and all the details. It's like it's amazing.
So I just wanted to share that with you. That's a typical reaction that we get. She was one of the more expressive people, but everybody loves the experience of being on the moon.
Manny, the question I have for you is, do you have the far side of the moon yet completed?
Part of it, yes. So one of the demos that we built is called the South Pole region of the moon. And so it's a parcel of terrain, I guess about 200 miles in diameter, or 200 miles in diameter around the South Pole. So it catches part of the far side on the South Pole region.
And Shackleton Crater, you've got Shackleton Crater?
Yes, Shackleton and Malapert Mountain. Now, Malapert Mountain is very special to me. This is the location that I picked for building the future space city called Selene. So part of Virtual Moon, we're going to build this giant space city. It's built for 5,000 people. It kind of, the current plans for building bases and research stations on the moon are small scale for 10 people or less, let's say. We're kind of leapfrogging all those concepts, and we're coming up with a concept of what could we build on the moon in the next 20 years that would be operational in 2045. And I know it's very ambitious that we could build a city that holds 5,000 people, but I firmly believe that we could do that with current technology or technology that's going to be maturing in the next 5 to 10 years.
I have a question about the image there, about the mountain.
Yes,
The way it looks illuminated, is that because it's one of the places where it's almost always sunny?
exactly. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. It's one of the tallest locations in the South Pole region, and it's one of the so-called peaks of eternal light.
Yes, you could put the solar panels up there and not have to forget about power ever, almost ever.
Well, we're going a different way with Selene. We are going to need a lot of power that's very dependable. So
Yeah.
we're going to nuclear reactors for power.
Yeah, most people talk about that. That's what they end up saying,
So
inside.
this is an early concept of what Selene will look like.
Mhm.
So all of this is underground except for the surface observation dome.
Yeah.
So this sits on the surface, everything else is underground.
Uh-huh.
Now, the reasons for building underground are pretty obvious. We have protection or shielding from radiation and from micrometeoroids. And also we have a constant temperature environment,
Yeah.
which makes the engineering a lot simpler.
Yeah,
So
not
it's built
minus
into the
200
ground.
to plus 200.
What's that?
Not minus 200 to plus 200 on like the surface.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's minus 40 degrees, about a couple of meters below the surface. It's a constant minus 40 degrees.
Yep.
All right, and so it's inside it'll be pressurized with normal atmospheric pressure and composition. So the idea is we want to create an environment that's ideal for the human organism. So it's going to be built for humans. So that the environment we're going to create, except for gravity, is as close as any environment that you that you can inhabit on Earth. So Earth is our natural environment. We're replicating the Earth environment except for gravity. And this is a friend of mine, David Casamates, that did this again many, many years ago for us. So this is our reference design. Again, this upper part, this is the surface of Melapert. It has this 6-degree northwest slope. That's a natural part of the plateau. Here's your surface dome, and everything else is underneath. Here's the entrance, and it's a 1 kilometer long tunnel that's 10 meters high by 50 meters wide. And then in the middle, there's this 50-meter tall atrium that's 250 meters wide. So this is our reference design because we needed to come up with some basic numbers, like in terms of to pressurize it to 1 atmosphere, how much nitrogen do we have to ship to the moon? So
Yeah.
we started with this reference design to make all those calculations.
Is it based on a lava tube, or would you be digging it out with boring machines or something like that instead?
We'll be digging it out with a swarm of robots. Robots that behave intelligently, like an ant colony. You know how ant colonies can dig out very intricate tunnel systems and chambers underground. So AI-driven robots will do that job on the moon.
Will they get overtime?
Okay, who's the smart guy?
So we have a couple of
internal shots. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple of architects in Bolivia that are fans and are volunteers, and we are looking at some studies of what the internal design could look like. So this is it. We want a design that's very, again, Earth-like, with lots of greenery, trees and bushes and grass and plants and all that. But also the ceiling of Selene is going to look like the Earth's sky. It'll be a tile of screens, high-resolution screens with high brightness, so we can make it look like the sky. So even though you're underground, it'll look like you're in an outdoor summer day environment.
Ah.
These are the architectural professors that are helping us with this. That's Gaston Ibarburu and Lucia Nicotera. They're in Bolivia. Now, one of the things that we do is we have a worldwide outreach program called the Virtual Moon Ambassador Program. One of the things that I do locally here in New Jersey is I go to schools and I give presentations about Virtual Moon. I talk about the importance of becoming a spacefaring civilization. And then I make sure that every kid in that class gets to put on a headset and experience what it's like to be on the moon and to watch the Apollo 11 landing. So I do that myself. It's one of the most rewarding things that I do. But then we have people around the world that find out about Virtual Moon and they reach out and they want to get involved. So we take them on board as as Virtual Moon ambassadors. This young lady is Pristine Fulgence. She's our national ambassador for Tanzania.
Oh,
She's an MIT graduate in architecture as well. This young lady is an engineering graduate student in Tunisia, and this young man here, Charles, he's also in Tunisia. And what I've been able to do is, out of my own pocket, I've purchased these VR headsets and I ship them to these countries around the world. So these kids in these very remote locations can experience being on the moon. Our ultimate goal is that we'll have ambassadors in every country in the world, and every child on Earth, no matter how remote a place they live, there'll be somebody coming to see them and allowing them to experience this.
Nice.
So these are, this young lady is in Tunisia, and she's experiencing it for the first time, and these are her comments. These two kids on the right are in Tanzania. We also have an ambassador in Nigeria. We have one in Ecuador, in Bolivia, and in India. And again, they're joining. And so again, our doors are open. If anything that you see about what we do in Virtual Moon that interests you, you can join us as a volunteer and contribute your skills or your time or research, any ideas or feedback. One of the most important things you can do for us is tell people about us, let them know that we're here. The Apollo 11 landing experience, if you happen to own a virtual reality headset or you plan to buy one, the Apollo 11 landing experience is free. You can just access it and run it at home anytime you want for free. This is our website, virtualmoon.space, and that's where you can reach me, Manny at virtualmoon.space. If you want to contact us, you can use the QR code. If you have a request, like if you want us to share the Apollo 11 landing experience, or you have questions, or you want to access the other demos, you can go here where this QR code is, and you can send us a message, and we'll give you access to those things. Besides the Apollo 11 landing experience, we also have a Virtual Moon dome, like a very large dome on the moon that we use as a virtual meeting venue where you can have meetings. We can give lectures and presentations like this presentation. I could give it to you inside the Virtual Moon dome. And if you had a VR headset, you'd be on the moon inside the dome, large panoramic windows all around overlooking the surface of the moon. And then in the middle, there's a screen that I could show you my slides on that virtual screen. And we can also, talk to each other and interact. So we have a bunch of demos like that. But that's the end of the presentation.
Pretty good.
More to take questions.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Excellent. Yeah. So, anybody else would ask some questions? Now's your chance.
I guess right now the key for you, Manny, is finding funding and and just getting out there as much as possible with these presentations.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I should. So the question was before if we're on the market yet. So we're working on a new version of the Apollo 11 landing experience. We're also changing the name of it. It's going to be called One Giant Leap, because it's not just going to be the landing experience itself. Because the current version, once the Eagle lands and the soundtrack goes dead, that's the end of the experience. You can walk around the moon and walk around the ship and so on, but nothing else is happening. But in the new version, after the landing, we're going to show you a vignette of Neil Armstrong coming down the ladder, hopping down to the footpad, and then taking his first steps on the moon and saying his famous words.
Yeah.
We're also going to show you the liftoff from the moon. So you'll be able to watch the ascent stage take off and shoot all this ripped up, Kapton insulation.
Yeah. Oh, that.
You'll be able to see that. And then you'll see, once it takes off, you'll see the way the landing site was left. All the objects that are there, not just the instruments, but a big garbage bag that was left there, and they took the backpacks, the the portable life support system backpacks. They threw them out of the hatch, and the lunar boots. They threw all that stuff out of the hatch. All that's going to be there. It's going to be exactly the way that it was left.
Reality is, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, the pièce de résistance, if you will, is you'll be able to take the controls and you'll be able to land the Eagle yourself under your own control.
Ah, nice.
So we're going to be, that's going to be finished in about 3 months. Actually less than that, about 2.5 months. Mid-September, we expect it to be finished. That's going to be our first marketable product. We're going to sell it for $14.95. If you're interested in pre-ordering it, you can pre-order it now for $10. And what we'll do, in addition to reserving your copy of One Giant Leap, the $10 will also buy you 1,000 square meters of virtual moon property. So we're going to be selling virtual moon property at 1 penny per square meter. So $10 gives you 1,000 square meters. But so the $10 not only buys you the One Giant Leap experience, but you also get the virtual moon property as well.
Okay.
That's our promotional.
Yeah, my question was, have you used AI at all to generate some of the images, or would it have saved you a lot of time had it been available while you're working on this?
We have not yet used AI, but AI is a big component of the tools that we need to finish Virtual Moon. We're already applying for provisional patents on some of the AI stuff that we're going to be using. The main reason for using AI is because the data sets that we have for the moon give you pretty good quality imaging of the surface of the moon from orbit. But we want to give people the ability to walk around any place on the surface, and we don't have that high quality resolution data everywhere on the surface. So we're going to use artificial intelligence to extrapolate and interpret what it looked like at each spot on the surface. George, you had a couple of questions?
Yeah, so are we talking about one module or program, or there are going to be multiple ones? Like you had the one of the landing of the moon and walking around the surface, but then you had that other slide or two on the underground habitat. So is that part of a different module, or how's that all work?
Yeah, no, that'll all be integrated into one moon experience.
Okay.
And again, that'll be for free. Once Virtual Moon is built and complete and finished, if you have a headset, you just put it on and you go to the moon. It'll cost you nothing. And you can go to Selene. You can visit Selene and walk around and tour, or meet your friends there and hang out and, talk about space or whatever you want to talk about virtually, like at the lounge in the at the resort on the moon.
Okay.
Now, it's actually an important point why we're making it a resort. You see, Selene is going to depend on robots, artificial intelligence guided robots, and in the year 2045, 20 years from now, robots are already very advanced. If you've been following Tesla and what they're doing with Optimus and the other robotic companies, they're building very sophisticated robots already. But in 20 years, robots will be just as agile and have the same amount of dexterity or more than humans. And of course, they're more rugged, and they're not putting their lives in danger and so on. So in 2045, there will really be no reason to send people to the moon to do any kind of work. Robots will be able to do all the work you need done on the surface. So if you don't need to go there to work, why would you want to go to the moon? And you'd want to go to the moon for the adventure of it, because it's something exciting. It's something you want to experience being on the moon. So Selene is designed as a resort city. Of course, there'll probably be scientists doing some research and stuff, but it's primarily a resort city, depending on tourism for its main source of revenue.
Yeah.
Okay, one other question to follow up. So I'm not that familiar with the virtual reality headsets, but are there different models, and is your
Yes.
software compatible with all of them, or is there certain ones that you recommend?
Yes. Yeah, the MetaQuest headsets, they make different models. The one you should buy is probably the 3S, because it gives you the most bang for the buck. It's only $350 now, I believe, and it's a great piece of equipment. All of their headsets are, but the 3S is one of the better ones. And they have another model, more expensive, called the Quest 3, which has a little better lens system, but the imaging electronics and the processor and all are the same as the 3S, but the 3 just has a better lens system. But the 3S is more than adequate to have an excellent experience.
So this is a step up from using your phone as the display system and the simple lensing system of the low cost.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
system.
way in all dimensions. It has a much larger viewing angle. It's much higher resolution, and the limitation with smartphone headsets is their 3 degrees of freedom, or 3 DOF. They can only sense when you rotate your head around the 3 axes. Roll, pitch, and yaw. If you translate your head, it cannot detect that, so it kind of drags your scene with you as you translate your head. So you don't feel like you're translating inside the experience. The only thing you can do is, again, swivel your head. But with the VR headsets, you can actually physically walk around as if you're walking on the moon. It translates it's 6 degrees of freedom, or 6 DOF, it's called.
Oh, okay. Have any questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what other planets are you envisioning doing some mapping on?
Oh yeah, definitely. Mars is in the roadmap. The thing is, in order to build the entire surface of the moon, like I said, we have to create some new tools using AI, sort of tools to build an entire planet, because I don't think that's been done, actually, at least not to run on consumer electronic products. So once we create those tools that we're going to use to build a planetary surface, then we can just ingest data sets from any celestial body and create that planet very, very quickly.
Right.
Basically, you make I'll call it a wireframe and then whatever you put on the skin is that other place. Yeah.
Yeah, the wireframe, then we superimpose a digital elevation map that distorts the wireframe according to the altitude readings at each point on the surface. And that's how you create a topological model.
And right now you are gathering the data to create the parts of the far side of the moon that so far we've got mapped down to the surface, including some of the Chinese data that they've allowed us to have.
Well, there is a lot of data already. We're starting with the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter digital elevation map, which is the highest resolution digital elevation map available. And so we use that as our foundational layer. And again, for certain parts of the moon where missions have landed and we have better, higher resolution data, we stitch that in, again, to evolve the model so it's always the most accurate and most realistic out there.
Yeah. Since we're at a pause, could Colin and George also introduce themselves? And also Dennis. Oh no, Dennis's mic is not working. Well, you heard it from Dorothy and her husband Larry. They're members of the National Space Society for many years, and part of the local chapter, the Philadelphia Area Space Alliance, that started this as the Pennsylvania Space Interest Group, and now come in to this new group that we're forming. And but I haven't heard from Colin, or we've heard from George, but don't know your backgrounds at all. So
Yeah, we'd love to.
Hi, I'm Colin Unsworth. I'm interested in science and space. I'm a retired airline pilot. So I've got, especially Manny, when you're talking about simulations, I've got a lot of simulator time. So I'm very familiar what it's like to fly in a simulator and experience. I guess that's a very virtual or situation where you're just sitting there doing everything, and the machinery recreates exactly what you're doing. So that's really fascinating. And I've seen that kind of technology advance since my first simulations in airplanes in the early 70s, all the way up until when I retired at the end of 2008. So I've seen quite a change in that kind of simulation and recreation of what you're supposed to be seeing.
I've never been in a jetliner simulator, but I imagine it's got to be super realistic, right? The modern ones.
It is very realistic, and the visual simulation outside the window has gotten really good over the years. In fact, it's gotten so good that when you're training in a new airplane, the first landing that you do, now if you're I work for Federal Express, so I didn't carry passengers, but even the passenger airlines, the first landing a pilot will get will be one with passengers on board. That's how realistic the landing simulation is. You don't have to practice at all. You get on an airplane, for example, with passengers on board, and you make your first landing, and it's surprisingly realistic. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice meeting you, Colin, and thanks for joining us.
Oh yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
George, what about you? Oh, your mic is off.
George Faulkner. I'm retired. I was actually a consultant in healthcare and various employee benefits and HR areas. But I started out as a physics major, and I always kept interest in physics and cosmology as an avocation. I'm a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church at Washington Crossing with Nick, Colin, and Ed. So the four of us all know each other pretty well. Ed and I co-lead a monthly discussion group called Science Circle. So we have maybe a dozen people or so on a discussion, and we just talk about trends in science and technology.
Mhm.
A lot of it lately has been on AI and climate change and things like that. So we try to keep up with all the the latest developments in the field, and of course, exploration of space is certainly one of those areas too. But since there hasn't been a lot of activity other than a lot of the commercial stuff, we're kind of, I think, eager to see some more real space exploration and development of activity on the moon and then eventually Mars. If
Mhm.
if we live long enough to see that in our own lifetimes.
Well, yeah, it depends on, how good you are, trying to keep yourself alive
Right.
and your family's genes that they gave you to, help that
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
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 Well,
But,
What I
but things,
what I find
things are
exciting-
happening very fast. So I think we get to see a lot of it. Yeah.
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 What I find exciting is that there's someone in elementary school right now that will probably be the first person to land on Mars.
Mhm.
And at least we were alive for that, and I'd like to see it before I go, but it's still exciting to know that somewhere, hopefully in the United States, that the first person to step foot is going through elementary, high school, and college right now.
Yeah. I think most of us are at least 70, pretty much. And so, we don't have, a whole long wait if we listen to Elon Musk. Maybe by 2028 or 2030, maybe he'll have some people on the moon. And so we won't have to wait that long. Mars, unfortunately, is another problem because of the transient time.
Yeah.
6 months or more,
Mhm.
or less.
I'm really encouraged by the development of nuclear power as a propulsion system.
Finally,
And that's going to rapidly reduce the amount of time needed to get there. It's just getting there and hoping that not one thing goes wrong while you're 93 million miles away from Earth. It's just, boy, that's going to be a tall order.
yeah.
Well, he's going to. The thing is, we're not just sending one ship, right? So we're sending an armada of ships. So
Right.
there'll be a lot of built-in redundancy.
Well-
So if something goes wrong, you'll have some backups.
Well,
Yeah.
if Elon Musk does it, yes, or
Yeah.
the Chinese, because they don't want to take and be embarrassed by such a failure. But I mean, Elon does have the sense to send more than one, I think.
Yeah.
Although the early Robert Zubrin ideas were send the fuel makers and the habitat structure. This is back in the 80s when I first met him and some of the people. There was conferences called the Mars Underground. And we went to, my friend Michelle found out about these things. And so we went to see these different meetings. We also settled some of the NASA meetings complaining about the data that they had that they could no longer use because the tapes, like from the 1960s, deteriorated. And you could no longer run them through the reading machines and floppy disks and all those other things that, were kind of semi-permanent, we thought, But yeah,
Yeah.
they Mars Underground people. He wrote a book on the possibility back in the, I think, early 90s even, about
Yeah.
basically living off the Martian land based on an analog to the colonization of America, learning and the Arctic, learning from either the natives there or planning ahead and saying, okay, we'll send, now it's AI, but before it was robotic, probes to set things up before we have to have the people take the risk of going there and then maybe have something break
Yeah.
when they get there. Have it set up and says, okay, you can come now. Everything's working. Yeah. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
like the old Von Braun thing, not one rocket, I mean, one big spaceship, several, because of
Yeah.
the problems you've mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of-
So I had a conversation with Dr. Zubrin when I was in Washington a month and a half ago.
oh, yeah.
And we have a bet. He doesn't think Elon is going to get human beings to Mars within 10 years, and I think he will. So we have a bet.
Yeah.
What would be most important for me is to try to get some of those samples back from Mars to see if there really are signs of life or anything close to it.
Yeah.
That would kind of show that life is not something that's unique to Earth.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
would be really major.
I read some of the space publications like space.com and things, and the British are thinking of sending a probe. This is from today. I did some research before we got on to look and see if any of the Martian clays, which I always think of clays as something that could go squishy with your fingers or something, but
Yeah.
whatever the clays are they have on Mars, and examine them for possible organic components.
Yeah.
Although organic components doesn't necessarily mean that they are produced by biological life.
Right.
One of the things I did was examine some data today on the materials returned from the Bennu asteroid.
Right.
And there was I think, what is it? I think 16 amino acid groups, organic compounds,
Yeah.
that are formed without the need of biological life. But they are in biological life. There's 19 more that are not. So
Yeah.
if you find the stuff on Mars, how will you prove? One of the things they mentioned was like isotope ratios, which happens on Earth. We have isotope ratio fractioning by living organisms in our bodies, like the carbon 12, carbon 13, something like that.
Yeah.
We fraction things in our use of the materials. So if we go to Mars for those samples, and we'll probably be wanting to send a very sophisticated observatory of the materials on Mars, not just planning to return materials, but to get a preliminary idea.
Mhm.
And then we'll
Yeah.
send it back and really they can go to work on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See what we can find. Yeah.
Yeah, science is important, and answering those questions is important. I've always been of the opinion that NASA's mission shouldn't be mostly about science. It should be mostly about building the infrastructure for us to become a spacefaring civilization. Because once that's in place, and you have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people out in space, then you can do all the science you want. But the priority should be to become a spacefaring civilization. And I think the demarcation point is when we build the first large-scale permanent settlement off Earth. That's when we can stamp our passport. We are now a spacefaring civilization. And that's the whole concept behind Selene. It's supposed to be that achieving that first level.
Yeah, that's why the group that didn't want to take it actually take the planets over necessarily, but use materials. The L5 Society, which we're part of way back when, had the idea of building free spinning, or I'll say spinning structures in space rather than actually live on the planetary bodies. Not absolutely necessary, because we couldn't build artificial settlements with the ability to simulate gravity for the comfort of the people inside. This was Gerald K. O'Neill's idea.
Yeah.
Put into the summer studies of Princeton, the studies at Princeton University.
Yes.
Isaac Arthur has done a lot of videos, science and fiction with Isaac Arthur. He's a gentleman who I religiously watch his videos every time they come out. I binged in the last couple of years to catch up, and now I've seen around 800 of his videos.
Wow.
And they're all very scientifically accurate. But he's someone that has discussed O'Neill cylinders and, the pros and cons of whether you want to be on the ground or whether you want to float. And so he's certainly someone, I think with credibility. The guy's a former Army physicist and really knows his stuff. Earl, I got to ask you a question. If you don't mind, what is your background?
Mine, I don't really have a job or have had a job in space sciences. I've just been interested for a very long time.
Nice.
I've done about 26 years working on devices for the blind and deafblind and multiply impaired. And when that company folded because the owner passed away, we weren't able to save it and get it started again. There's a family problem, me, them, and financing, which we didn't know we had a problem until he passed away. And then I started working on, I'll call them entertainment and sales devices at a company that made point of sales displays of various kinds, audio, video, little commercial things that gave you tickets for things, all this kind of stuff for about 18 years. And more recently, I've worked at a place where I was just basically cataloging and inventorying various kinds of electronic devices, instrumentation, various kinds, spectrum analyzers, network analyzers, high precision voltmeters and things, and the attachments that go with this kind of stuff. And
I've worked with a lot of that stuff myself.
yeah, and that operation shut down that part of the operations. So I did some of the shipping and receiving, things like that for another branch of the operation. You've used some of their systems if you've used any communication systems in the greater Delaware Valley area. RF design and infrastructure. So yeah, all kinds of different things. I've just noticed I have space.com notices. The woman Wally Funk, she was the pilot and astronaut who went up, I think it was with the Amazon guy, spacecraft.
Bezos.
Yeah, she just passed away, it says. So when we're oh yeah. Watch your step.
Inga Hyler passed away too. Remember her in the Star
Who?
Trek? And Inga Hyler, Inga.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Inga.
she passed away a few days ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, about a week ago maybe. She's the one who used to do all the scientific presentations at the PhilCon and the Star Trek and Balticon and stuff.
Space Telescope Science Institute.
Yeah,
Ireland. Yeah.
Speaking of science fiction, in my opinion, the most important science fiction show since Star Trek, in my opinion, without a doubt, is The Expanse. If you haven't seen it yet,
oh yeah,
that is so real, and the plot line was great, but just reality-based science fiction. No teleportation or anything, but just some hard science and really dramatic. The visuals were stunning. So if you can stream it, if you happen to subscribe, I forget which channel does that, but look it up, and it's worth the ride. And to me, since Star Trek, that is the biggest one.
it's a very good show.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Another good one was Firefly. I don't know if you saw.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What a shame.
Yeah.
One season they pulled the rug out from us on that.
Yeah. And then they did.
For All Mankind was another good one on Apple TV.
What's For All
For All
Mankind?
Oh
Mankind.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
but that cost
Fantastic.
Apple.
Yeah.
The others are like Amazon and all these
Right.
other Tubi and other things.
Yep.
Where you'll see the ads for them. Although I don't want to get a whole bunch of that stuff because it's like, oh, yes, join us for free. And then like Hulu, suddenly, it's like, okay, it's, $12, $14, $15 a month or whatever it
Yeah.
is. Each little thing.
So Virtual Moon is also going to have some whimsy to it, right? So we're going to recreate the Space 1999 lunar base, so you can walk around.
Oh,
And the Odyssey, the 2001, the Space Odyssey, create the base there as well.
We'll have the monolith.
Yeah, you have the monolith.
that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, virtual reality is so cool. It really is. I enjoy it. I bought the ones where you put your smartphone in.
Yeah.
So I have both the headset and the smartphone attachment. Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold anyone up. I really appreciate Manny coming and doing this for us tonight.
Yeah.
We're meeting on the second Thursday of every month, and I put up the time 7 to 9. If we finish early, that's fine too. But you have the link, and you're welcome to come back. Please don't share it. Make sure that you direct them to me so that I can give them the link, and so I know who I'm giving it out to. This is a personal account of mine, so I just want to make sure that I, monitor everything and that no one's abusing, abusing the account.
The connection.
But I have to grow this, and if we can all just make a decision, a goal to double ourselves from tonight. There's 9 people. If maybe in August we can come up with 18, and if you know of anyone who feels like we can do a great speech and presentation like Manny did tonight, that would be really great. Somebody in the science community, astrophotographer, astronomy, whatever sciences. If you have friends or connections with that, I'm trying to grow interest in this area. And just get more people enthusiastic about this. And anyhow, right now it's 8:25. If someone else wants to talk about another space topic, that's fine too.
Well, I'll add a few things because I was looking at material for some of my interests. I will show you one way to tell if somebody's interested in something. These are the books on the exploration of Titan I bought. Okay, over the years, one retail, one actually from a library sale. And so what I went looking for, because these are now ancient history, over 20 years old at this point, for the Huygens encounter, Cassini launched a small probe like a small car, to go into the atmosphere of Titan, slow down and take measurements as it's going way down. That's one of the books. It's about what was coming up, and that was talking about we're going to do this, this, and this, and the scheduling, all this stuff, and what was needed to set all that up, and various changes I had to make on the way down to Titan, and the change in orbits of Cassini to make all of that work. And so what I did was look up the information. Okay, some of the things were they found out that the atmosphere is a nitrogen and methane hydrocarbon mix. The surface sandy riverbed type material and hydrocarbon dunes, hydrocarbon rain, okay, refilling the lakes and channels that you have on Titan. Well, this is happening at 100, 120 degrees below zero. I'm sorry, 120 degrees Kelvin, which is 180 below zero, something like that. So, and then the internal ocean, which is an ammonia water mix. This is all from that flyby and the landing of the probe. 2.5 an hour lifetime for the probe, because that's what they designed it for. And also they had seasonal changes and dramatic surface changes. That is Lorenz and Mitten's work. That's these 2 books. It is an Earth-like Earth-like analog with active chemistry and cyrovolcanoes. So I did not actually see anything about how they could have imaged any of those. I guess that's kind of like an inferential kind of thing. So, and talking about later, a long-term rover stay with survival at minus 180 degrees centigrade for mapping the methane, ethanol, ethane lakes and examining cyrovolcanoes. So that's something else. And searching for organic compounds. They're all going to be searching for organic compounds. And it's going to have, among other things, protective shelters for the vehicles, because they're at minus 180. There actually are winds and a substantial atmosphere on Titan. Okay, it's not like when you're seeing Mars, and, oh, dust devils, oh, that's terrible. That's like past the top of Mount Everest in atmospheric density, though.
Yeah.
But because of the fact that we have that atmosphere on Titan, they're going to use methane, ethane fuel cells, basically using the native materials in the environment to power systems. So that's kind of cool. Something like
Sure.
Robert Zubrin would like, you know. Okay, now I was the science director of our group for a very long time, as you might be able to tell by now. And also, they may be using inflatable habitats to do that thick infection. And next time, they're planning on sending the Dragonfly. This is in 2028. There's going to be a probe that's going to fly in the atmosphere, just like we have, the little Perseverance and everything going there, and Ingenuity and all that. So we're going to be sending a small flying probe to go down to the surface of Titan and do measurements and examinations. And follow on, the problem is, the time scales, would be a rover to traverse the surface. Earlier,
Even a submarine.
say again?
Even a submarine.
That was a possibility, but they ruled that out, apparently, from what I'm reading. Yeah. I mean, one of the illustrations in one of these books that I was showing you includes a thing that looks like a dirigible for flying through that atmosphere. But again, now they're talking, for some reason, I guess because it's a known technologies, is the helicopter. Although I'm not sure what, the effect of that atmosphere would be on the components of the helicopter's rotary systems, which is a problem. You guys know that from engineering. And maybe a drilling rig, but that's all off in the future. That won't be for humans at all, just for scientific research. Then Bennu, that's the asteroid that we flew by, landed on, picked up something called a tag SED, touch and go landing to tag, and they looked and found complex organic minerals and nanostructures in the materials they picked up and brought back, and they were not uniformly mixed. So what they're thinking is that one time, the materials that make up Bennu were from a larger body that was impacted and spalled this stuff off. And included is an unusual amount, they say, of supernova material. So how they can tell the differences, probably isotopic ratios again, of the materials that make up Bennu. So that's kind of interesting and different. There's something that says aliphatic organic compounds, abundant carbonate compounds, and nitrogen-containing organic compounds, our friend nitrogen. And it's implied that it was any interactions with water were in different areas. It was not globally covered or saturated with water during its formation. Let's see. Huygens, whoops, it's Huygens. No, let me see it. One more thing. Where we at? Okay. Now, that's amino acids. We talked about 14 amino acids that are found in life, 19 other ones, isotopic analysis. And it was a cold and icy environment rather than the inner solar system's warming that caused these compounds to be gradually formed. And a gum-like material was found to exist inside of the sampling material, and that there was also compounds that we know of as sugars as part of materials completely created by inorganic, non-life process again. And they think he's mentioning the idea that some of the materials used for Earth life could have been delivered by something like Bennu to the Earth, and we were seeded then by the materials from the asteroids. Let's see, that's the super dust. Also, OSIRIS-REx, which is the original naming of the spacecraft, and the guy in this other book, the asteroid hunter, Dantes Loretta, mentions about how they picked up the name and everything because of where it was going, and kind of like a nice connection, Osiris, And what's happened is OSIRIS-REx is now being turned into OSIRIS Apex, and its next target of opportunity is going to be a near-Earth object, Apophis. You may have heard of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Apophis is the thing that they were worrying about, possibly coming through the keyhole, they were calling it, from deep space. If it jogged in just the right way, something perturbed it in the right way, it would come through this thing called the keyhole, this region of space called the keyhole, which is very narrow. But on its next pass toward us, it could actually have a good chance of impacting the Earth. And so they're interested a lot in just what's going to go on with that object. And so OSIRIS Apex is going to pay a visit to Apophis. And it's going to be in 2029, which happens to be the same time as this thing approaches the Earth. So that is some of the additional material I'm adding into our talk.
Cool.
Any questions? Yeah. I can't tell if Ed is asking a question or not. His mic is off. Oh, okay. Yes. So, that's the kind of stuff I would do, is look into different areas and the technologies. At one time, I also got NASA Tech Briefs and other things physically, not just online, and some of the other publications that they have on this stuff. I also have a background in, radio communications, just being interested in it, up through, far infrared light, and, and visible and other ultraviolets. But the far infrared was because of a spacecraft back in the 80s that actually took, it was one of the space telescopes that used cryogenic cooling for infrared studies. And it was one of the things that found the first planetary materials disks around some other stars. I'm trying to, rack my brain right now to remember what that was. But it was interesting to me because I'm also interested in technology. I'm a geek that way. And they were talking about having problems with this space telescope until they figured out that because of the structure of the telescope, the amplifiers for the detectors that are on the telescope were stopping working. They were experiencing something called freeze out of their function. They just could not handle the temperature being too low. So they had to alter the structure of the platform where the amplifying electronics was at that time, and use that to get the signals a little bit further away into a warmer area for these things to be able to take the stuff and then convert it into something, to digitize and come back down to us. And the result was, solving the problem. And they found it beforehand, which is, why we do all this research on different things, try to make it work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's my contribution at this point.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thanks, Earl. Vera Rubin's going to be just rocking that telescope is going to be just simply amazing. It's already, the photos that I've seen has just been outstanding, and we got another 11 years of that. And hopefully they don't just shut it down. They, improve the camera if you can possibly improve it. I was kidding. I was kidding with friends. Like, as soon as Vera Rubin went online, I said, "I'm ordering the camera from Amazon the next day." Like the ginormous gigapixels that
Oh yeah,
contains. Just incredible.
Yeah, the way they build those things is something. I've studied that too a little
Powerful.
bit. Yeah, the panels. It used to be the silicon wafer would be like that big, it was huge. Now, if you want enough primary focus imaging, not even secondary, you have
Right.
these things laid side by side, and there's like a tiled array, like it's not your bathroom tiles either. Size. I mean, the whole thing is like huge, and you put that at the primary focus. Oh, it's 100 billion element, pixel element, detector with a big cooling fan for the electronics, I guess. I don't know. Just kidding around there. Yeah, neat stuff. Oh yeah, the space.com, which I recommend as far as looking at some of their stuff. They had a shot of the Vera Rubin getting ready. They were checking it out as far as getting it ready to be, I guess, moved to where the cowling would be and put on its rocket, sometime soon.
Right.
Yeah, that would be great.
Is there anything else? Otherwise, we might want to consider signing off tonight if we've
That's
heard from
all.
everyone. Again, thanks a lot, Manny. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks to everyone for coming out tonight.
yeah.
And hopefully we'll see you next month. And please do blast this out and see if we can get some other folks to come and give us a presentation on.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks very much, Nick and Earl and Manny, for all that you've explained to us.
It's been my pleasure. Let me invite you again to visit our website and sign up. We'll give you updates. We'll give you continuing updates on how the project is going and new product releases and promotional deal packages and all that stuff. So just go to the website and sign up and let your friends know about us. And whenever you decide to get your VR headset, just let us know that you're interested in the Apollo 11 landing, and we'll give you that for free.
Okay. Okay. Well, then, good night, everybody. And
All right, thank you.
come back.
Take care,
Good
everybody.
Okay. See you guys.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Thank
Night,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Nick, for
night.
setting this up. Yep. See you guys. Let's see. Where is that? Is that exit? Leave home.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye-bye.